Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at how tech is changing the game in shipping.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge change.
We've got a really interesting situation, like a company importing sugar at Cannes Port, and they're in a bit of a time crunch,
Definitely a time crunch.
facing possible fines if their ships aren't unloaded on time, and they're using pen and paper to keep track of everything.
Really?
You can imagine with hundreds of trucks coming and going, the potential for things to get messy is,
Oh, it's huge. I mean, this company is based in Mumbai and importing the sugar at Candle Port in Gujarat.
wow, so hundreds of miles away.
Right, and they only have 5 days to unload.
Uh-huh.
Any delays, and they're hit with these demurrage charges.
The mirage charges.
Yeah, essentially it's like a penalty for keeping the ship at the port longer than they're supposed to.
So every hour counts.
Absolutely.
I can't even imagine trying to manage all that with just pen and paper.
I know, right? That's where GoFlamingo steps in to bring them into the 21st century.
So GoFlamingo is like a tech company.
Yeah, they specialize in logistics, and they really focus on 4 things: empathize, simplify, knowledge, and transparency.
Empathize, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, they really dig deep to understand their clients' pain points.
So in this case, it's not just about moving sugar, it's about,
It's about understanding that stress of coordinating all those trucks, the pressure of those looming charges, and not knowing what's happening on the ground.
so they really put themselves in the client's shoes.
Exactly. And then from there, they look to simplify.
Simplify. How do you even begin to simplify something this complex?
Well, they've recognized the core problem was lack of information. Pen and paper means you're always behind, always reacting, instead of preventing problems.
Makes sense.
So they created a streamlined system for information flow.
Okay, so less chaos, more control.
Right, and this is where their knowledge comes in, building a system that can actually handle this kind of operation.
That's their expertise, the tech part of it.
Exactly.
Okay, so what did they actually do? What did the solution look like?
Well, first, those paper records. Gone. All digital.
Wow, so like tablets and laptops everywhere.
They kept it simple and effective, actually. Smartphones for the personnel on site.
Hmm.
Familiar tech for everyone.
And the data goes.
Straight to a central database. The client in Mumbai can see exactly what's happening at the port in real time.
That's incredible. Talk about peace of mind.
Huge game changer for their decision making. No more relying on outdated reports.
Where? But what about the traffic jams with all those trucks?
That's where it gets really innovative. They didn't just digitize the data, they actively managed the flow of trucks.
Like air traffic control, but for sugar.
Exactly, preventing bottlenecks before they even happen.
Now that's impressive. But you mentioned transparency earlier. How did they make sure the client could actually understand all this data?
That's where the custom dashboard comes in.
Hmm.
They created this visual overview of the entire operation for the client.
Like a control center.
Exactly. Showing key metrics, everything updated live. They could literally watch their sugar being unloaded.
That must have been amazing for them. So GoFlamingo's 4 values weren't just words.
They were built into the entire solution. And we haven't even scratched the surface of all the features they included.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What else did they do to make this solution so special?
Well, remember the concern about truck congestion.
Uh-huh.
They went a step further and added truck validation.
Validation.
Yeah, making sure only authorized vehicles were getting the sugar. Sounds small, but it's huge for security and transparency.
And what about the tech at the port itself? I'm guessing not everything is cutting edge.
That's a great point. They knew not everyone would have the latest phones, so they made it compatible with older 3G phones too.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
They even added an anomaly detection system, kind of like an early warning system for potential problems.
How does that work?
It uses the data to spot anything out of the ordinary, like a sudden jump in truck arrivals, or if unloading times start to increase.
So they're preventing problems before they even start.
Precisely. And to make sure everyone could actually use the system, they provided training for all the personnel involved.
So it's not just about throwing technology at the problem, it's about making sure people can use it.
Right. And to close the loop, they implemented tracking for the entire journey of the sugar from the port to the warehouse.
So end-to-end visibility.
Exactly. No more wondering where the trucks went.
Wow, it's amazing how they brought clarity and control to something that was so chaotic before.
And they did it all through those core values. Empathize, simplify, knowledge, and transparency. They built a real partnership.
This is such a cool example of how technology can be used to solve these real-world problems, and in a way that feels so human-centered. Okay, so that's the positive side. But what about jobs? Are robots going to replace all the dock workers?
That's a big concern, but I think technology will actually create new jobs, just different kinds of jobs.
So, like, instead of driving a truck, you might be managing a fleet of self-driving trucks.
Exactly. And instead of manually checking cargo, you might use AI systems to spot problems. It's all about adapting and learning new skills.
Which brings us back to GoFlamingo's emphasis on knowledge.
Right. Knowledge is power in this new world.
So what can our listeners take away from all this?
Well, first, the power of real-time data. Whether you're running a business, managing a team, or just trying to make better decisions in your own life, having access to the latest information is crucial.
It's like having your finger on the pulse.
Exactly. And the second takeaway is that change is inevitable. Those who can adapt and learn new things will be the ones who succeed.
So don't be afraid of change. Embrace it.
Yeah. And that's where empathy comes back in. As technology keeps advancing, we need to remember the human side of things and make sure we're using it to make the world a better place.
So it's not just about efficiency, it's about making a positive impact.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, think about what in your own life could benefit from having more visibility, more real-time information. Where are the things that could be improved? And how could technology help solve those problems?
It's all about asking the right questions and then finding the right tools to answer them. Great advice. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.